Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Random Rant. So today we got a bit of jazz in the background, so hope you guys are actually going to enjoy this. So this is giving me the opportunity to talk about something that I've really been wanting to cover for some time now, and that's about this thing called the red pill. Now, someone recently asked me, like a good buddy of mine, like what that was, and that was pretty much just, like, I can't really go into super supreme detail because there are, there are different sections of it and whatnot, and so there's many different channels that can probably do a much better job explaining it. But it's pretty much this idea and concept of utilizing the analogy of the Matrix, the blue pill versus the red pill option. The blue pill being that you can just stay in Wonderland and stay asleep, and it makes you feel better, but you're still, ignorant of what's really going on, compared to the red pill where it's going to suck. It's going to hurt at first, but you're going to realize what's actually going on here. So, the red pill, right? It's pretty much this analogy in the dating market, whereas there's a lot of shady crap going on, and, a lot of people have ridiculous expectations and whatnot. And I'd say that it's on, both sides, because I see this thing very common where a lot of men will say that, well, the red pill is, it's necessary and whatnot, and then some of them get very bitter as a result. And then you have some people, who are, I'd say red pill, in the sense that, they're aware of it, but they also don't really have anything to offer. But then it goes back to this analogy of, why are relationships failing, mainly in modern culture, mainly in first world countries and whatnot. And I'd say that it's mainly because everyone's trying to see it from, a transaction standpoint. What do you offer me? What can you do for me? This, that, and the other thing. We're seeing it from a business standpoint, and I can't help but see that, if we see it from a business standpoint, that's not really helping at all, because even though I understand where people are coming from in that sense, it's just, there's a lot more to it, and that's pretty much why we just can't hold marriages, because right now it's just what can you do for me? And people don't realize that, stuff happens. That same person that is earning six figures and whatnot, that's the ideal man for a lot of these ladies and whatnot, something can happen. The guy can come down with cancer, and now, a whole bunch of his money is just spent trying to freaking save his life. And unfortunately, in today's context, a lot of women are just incentivized, hey, when the going's getting rough, just take his stuff and go. It's not the tough get going, it's you take his stuff and go. That's just the reality. And for any women who are traditional, I do understand that's, a bit tough for you, because then it gives you a negative, negative image and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you have to understand, this is just how it works at the end of the day. I don't deny that the red pill can make a lot of men very toxic again, and very bitter as a result, but I'd argue that in that sense, it's kind of more justified, not them, being I hate all women, being male feminists. I mean it in the sense of, the man has a lot to lose here. So when he realizes that not only is she incentivized, to, screwing you over, she's defended in doing it, yeah, it's going to be mad, and I can't help but tell you, hey, I get kind of annoyed too. When I'm seeing these guys who gave their heart and soul into these relationships, so when I see these guys who did everything that they possibly could to provide the best quality of life for their wife and their kids, and then the woman decides to just leave him, to the extent that she takes the house, she takes the car, she takes the kids, and this guy is literally homeless in a snowstorm? Yes, that irritates me, that makes me mad. And I'll be real, I love games. I love games, I love strategy and whatnot, so I don't hate, women, and I encourage a lot of men who might, be bitter at women. Don't hate the woman, hate the game. Hate the fact that the game allows her to do that. And this is, again, why it goes back to the idea of, marriage and relationships as a whole. For, any of the women out here that are, very sane, and they're not, pretty crazy to the dating scene and whatnot, and they're not manipulative, you have to understand that the game is set up in a way where you don't really have anything to lose. As more men, realize, what they have to lose, more of them are going to be very hesitant about it. More of them are going to be better. More of them are going to just say, hey, listen, I just can't, I love you, but I just can't sign those papers. I can't. I know what happens if something happens and you change. People have been in love, and they've been in the most love that you can possibly see, and, it just doesn't work out. Stuff happens. And there's various circumstances. One we could probably say is, first world first world problems are very different from, like, third world problems. For one, we're not really worried about, like, for the most part, where our meals are coming from. I mean, we have homeless, obese people. Homeless, obese people. To the extent where you're freaking homeless and you are so well fed that you can get obese. So our priorities are very different from other people's priorities, to the extent that, again, a lot of the Western world is very materialistic. So if something happens to the extent where you cannot perform and give someone the quality of life that you could originally, a lot of people move away. They're like, well, you don't have anything to offer me anymore, and so I'm just going to find someone else. And in most of these cases, considering statistically, it is 80% of marriages are, ended by the woman. Men are looking at this and they're saying, I'm freaking terrified. I only have to lose. Like, the potential fulfillment that I could possibly gain from being a husband and a father to kids is completely, countered by the fact that you can take that from me. You can take that from me at any point. And again, I don't encourage this to, like, spew forth hate or anything. I encourage this because a lot of people need to have this conversation. Because yes, there are communities that are becoming very upset as a result. But you also have to understand, like, I just don't really see how this is going to change. And it's what brings me to, like, this kind of attitude to where some might call it, a defeatist attitude, but I don't necessarily consider it. But, like, I'll say it anyway. I just don't think that men can marry anymore. Like, the system is punishing you for getting married. I'll take you to the church, I'll give you a little, thing, I'll say my vows to you, but I won't sign those legal papers. And I'd say that if you can truly love that guy, if you are truly in love with that guy, you'd understand why he wouldn't want to sign those papers. Like, it's literally, I've heard some people word it like this. Modern marriage is like saying that you are fine with signing a deal with someone who is your business partner, and they can pull out of that deal and, like, take your stuff, and they are like, and you can't take their stuff at all for the most part. Like, it rarely happens. Yes, alimony sometimes, the woman pays, but rarely is that gonna happen. Like, we can't talk about, the rare cases. We have to talk about the, the consistent cases. That's what scientific data is. So, looking at it from that standpoint, like, me as a young guy, a young guy who isn't really interested in the dating scene, like, I'd say that, for the guys that are, like, you just have to know what you're getting into. Because a lot of women try and say, like, well, if you don't like it, then why are you talking about it at all, right? It's not really that. It's just, like, forewarning, because, folks, I am all for free will. You've got free will, but you deserve to know what you're getting into. And a lot of times in life, in general, people don't want to tell you the full story. That's, like, why, like, if you sign a contract, there's 50 pages, they're not telling you the full story. If you sit there and try and listen, 9 times out of 10, we're talking about, like, like 3 hours worth of information that you can't process all the way. And then there's always fine print. You don't get the full story. You just get what you think you get, and then you get the full package, and you realize that, whoa, man, a lot of the stuff that I want is offset by, like, this risk, but it's too late because I signed the contract. So I just want to say that, like, you deserve to know what you're getting into. And, men, if you are going to continue to try and date in this world, you deserve to know what you're getting into. Women, if you are going to actually be, supportive of men, you have to understand, men have a very good reason why they wouldn't want to take you to that altar. They have a very good reason why they don't want to sign those papers. It's not about hating you. It's about hating the system. It's about hating the fact that the system allows that. And at the end of the day, like, we both suffer. Like, say whatever you will, say it's politically incorrect, but marriage, historically, gives children the best possible, upbringing. Marriage does. You can say whatever you want. I don't care if it's politically incorrect. Marriage gives children the best possible upbringing. So, everyone's suffering as a result of it. But I'd argue that as this continues, like, we're either going to see two things happen. One, people are going to be extremely extreme, to the extent where, like, they just say whatever, and they start getting freaking robots as, like, technology advances and whatnot. Well, maybe 3 things, actually. Or two, again, like we actually have laws reversed to where, like, it's more reasonable for men to get married and whatnot. Or three, like, guys are just going to go to other countries. Because, I mean, in other countries, like, if a lot of women, in, like, first world countries did some of the stuff that they were able to do over there, like, they're completely shunned. Their family turns on them, the village turns on them, and, like, everyone's going to say, you had something good going, and you threw it away over petty stuff. Like, you get shunned and stuff like that. So, right now, like, in, these kinds of countries, there's a very, don't judge me culture, but I feel like that's also kind of, why we got here, because we don't criticize behavior that isn't, beneficial. We don't criticize the behavior that's really causing a lot of our, society to mess up right now. And we're destroying the most important thing to a functioning society, that being the home, the family. So, it's just a lot to think about, Like I said, I'm a young guy, I don't know, it's sad to think about, because again, like, I'm not toxic, I'm not really mad about it, I'm just kind of indifferent, but, looking at it, I just get mad at the fact that, like, I see these men, and they put in their heart and souls in these relationships, and they lose everything. They don't ever see their kids again, and I mean, guys, to see something like that, I'm not someone that's emotional, like, but I'm almost on the verge of tears when I see that this guy, hasn't seen his son, his daughter, in decades. And then when they finally, like, reconnect, he's bawling because he missed out on all of the years to bond with him. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. That is just, like, some of the most gut-wrenching things that you can do to a person. Like, people will die for their kids, man. And our culture is just encouraging people to just say, screw the kids. Screw the men. Screw what it puts them through. Masculinity's toxic. And if you're getting eaten alive inside by these issues, like, well, F you, man up. It's just telling men, like, the most hypocritical things, masculinity's toxic. Now the men's being emotional. Man up! Like, it's just... It's really hard, to, like, explain this to some people and whatnot. Because, again, like, some people are very, like, I don't know, like... They're, like, simps to society to the extent, like, where they still feel as though, like, well, it's still your fault because, society told you so. So, I don't know. But anyway, I just hope that this kind of, I'm not trying to get emotional on here or whatnot. I hope that you guys aren't, getting kind of, down as a result. I'm just trying to have, like, a conversation explaining, why I feel it's important and why, this pill is continuing to spread, I don't really think that, the marriage laws are going to change at any point, but if they don't, I just say that, there's going to be a very big way that men and women see each other. It's going to be a continual shift, and relationships are going to look very different as time continues to go on. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, somewhat, and as always, rate the video what you think it deserves. Tell me what you want to see in the future in the comments below. Stay safe, take care, and God bless.